Welcome back to the shop. Today's episode, I wanted to give you a quick view of an older tool. This tool is no longer manufactured by Park Tools, and I was able to get a hold of one due to the generosity of someone on Bent Rider. Thanks, Ed. I appreciate it. I was looking for a wheel building tool, a truing stand, and the Park Tool truing stand that they have out now, the really nice one, is like $355. And for the amount of wheels that I build and do truing on, I don't think I needed to spend quite so much on that kind of a tool that I would only use rarely. So I put out some information on Bent Rider and I asked, hey, is there an alternative to the Park Tool being so expensive? I'm sure that it's a great tool. In fact, I've seen one when I went down to the big honkin' trike rally in Florida. And if you recall from my Florida videos, I had a broken spoke nipple and a broken spoke. So I've got some of those on order and I will be repairing those wheels and truing them up. But in the meantime, I thought maybe that would be my chance to take them apart and sandblast them and get them powder coated. So what I'm gonna do is take apart those wheels on my Sprint, strip them down, powder coat them, and then I'm gonna rebuild them with new spokes, new nipples, the whole thing. To do that, I've gotten this Park Tool. It's my newest tool. It's the T7S. It's no longer made. It has been replaced by the T7-8, I believe, which the T7-8 is a one-sided arm. So this one is a little bit more manual in how it works. To get the different widths of wheels, you just move this bracket here and that's how you can get the different size hubs to mount in there. On our trikes, it's essentially a through axle. And so I have ordered the Park Tool through axle piece that will allow me to mount the hub in here and hold the wheel. All right, so it's been a few days since I've been out here working on this particular project, but I got my spokes in. So I'm finally gonna go ahead and take apart at least one of my wheels so I can rebuild it and get, since I broke a spoke, I'm gonna go ahead and, if you recall, I'm gonna take this all apart. I'm gonna powder coat the hub and the rim to get it to go with my trike, and then I'll rebuild it, and I bought all new spokes and nipples to do that. So tonight is just gonna be about taking this apart and maybe stripping the rim. Depends on how far we get with taking it apart and what time it is. So I'm just gonna get started on that using my new to me Park Tool TS-7 truing stand. All right, so there you have it. Got the hub, the rim, and all the old spokes and the spoke nipples. I have my new ones, and they'll be waiting here so we can get this put together. So what we're gonna do now, or what I'm gonna do now, is I'll put this in my blast cabinet and I will start blasting it and get this down to bare metal so it's ready to go for powder coating. And then I'll powder coat it and put it back together. So this is a fun project. Now I know some of you at home are thinking, I would never take apart a wheel, I could never do that. Well, you can. Taking it apart is the easy part. Putting it back together, even putting it back together is not that difficult. Just takes a little time and a little patience. You can do it without a wheel stand. I've done it. I showed you how to do that in previous videos where I've done it right on the bike. It's not that hard. Now this one I'm building up from scratch. Well, almost from scratch. I'm building up from parts, so I'm not just replacing a single spoke and I'm not just truing one wheel or a few spokes on one wheel. I'm actually going to be building up the whole thing and truing the whole thing. I've had to true a couple of other wheels, and so it's just one of those maintenance things that you got to do every once in a while. And so this is another project that I'm doing. So we'll continue on with this, and we'll come back after I get it blasted and powder coated and put it back together. Okay, so the good news is it's a couple days later and I've got the wheel, the rim, and the hub are both powder coated. The other one will get powder coated to match but I wanted to do these first to get it out of the way, and that way I also have a reference when I'm rebuilding the wheel to build it opposite of the one that's there, because then if I have a reference, then I can put the spokes in the correct way. So I'm back working with my Park TS-7 truing stand, and I'm really glad that I got this piece of equipment. It's been great. I've added the dial indicator and the magnetic base from Harbor Freight because I got my wheels trued over the course of a couple of evenings, but I want to make sure that they're really true. And I can see just the tiniest bit of wobble in them. I was able to get them really pretty close just by the naked eye, and of course my glasses. And so I wanted to see how close I could get them using a dial indicator. Now the dial indicator is going to do really nothing more than tell me the deviation, and then I can attempt to get that deviation down to almost nothing if I just keep working at it. Two tools, other tools that have really been helpful. Obviously, the correct spoke wrench. I purchased a couple of these, and this one fits the spoke nipples that I have. This is the general, what they call the department store sized spoke nipples. So it's just for generic spoke nipples, but this is a must-have. You got to have one of these. And then I bought something else that I saw, also from Park Tool, which is another spoke wrench. It's this one here, and it has the two most common, the black and the red, the two most common spoke nipple ends on it. And I can't remember what the number of this one is. I'll look it up and see if I can find it. But I found this wrench, and so I picked up this wrench, and this has helped a lot because, as you can see with a regular spoke wrench, you've really got to put it on there, and then you've got to manipulate it in between the spokes, whereas this one, and this is really only designed if you can't reach the spoke ends, or if you need to just move it a little bit. But what I found is I just needed to move it a little bit, but it gave me the leverage that I needed to move it, and saved my fingertips a lot of heartache over building wheels the normal way with just using a spoke wrench. Alright, so here we go. You'll see the first time I actually did just make sure that it works, and I put it on the wheel, and you'll see with the precision I got just with the naked eye on my Park truing stand. This is for the side to side. Alright, so I'm going to set that on the 0 mark. This thing is very sensitive. So I'm going to set that on the 0 mark, and then you can see how much deviation there is. So as you can see, very little deviation between the side to side. Now I'm going to set it up, and I'm going to let my dog out because she's begging me to go out. I'll let her out, and I'll set it up for the out of round and for the hop and the dip, and we'll see how close I got it on that one. Okay, so I tried to set it up as parallel as I can to the wheel, and it looks like I still have a little bit of adjustment left to do on that. So I've got to get that straight, and then I will test it to see how out of round it is. Okay, so you're seeing this at the same time I'm seeing it. I'm going to adjust this down and set it at the mark where it was. So this is the 0 mark, and let's see where the deviation is. So I'm going to say that's pretty good. considering that I did this by eye. Now you do notice there's a couple little places on there where it jumps and hops, and that's because the powder coating is not quite smooth in that area. And then there's another one where it hops, and that's because that's where the seam of the rim is, and I'll see if I can bring it around there. So you see where it's catching? It's actually measuring a little bump in the paint. So I'd say I'm very happy with that outcome. I'm not gonna try and mess with it anymore. That's within, yeah, so it's within 0.01 of an inch. I'd say that's pretty good for eyeballing it. So I'm gonna do this to the other wheel, take it off, and check the other wheel and see what the differences are on that one. And then I think I'll be ready to mount tires. I've got a new tool for that too. I'd say that's pretty close for doing it just with this simple gauge that I have on the TS-7, and just taking my time and doing it. But I did all of that with this gauge right here, and I put the wheel in this little cutout. I flipped it around and tried it on both sides, and then I just worked with it, took my time, and that's how precise I got it just by using this gauge. I'm actually really pleased with that outcome. That tells me that my gauge, first of all, my gauge on my park truing stand is really good. And now I've got the precision measurements that if I really wanted to go and make it perfect, I could sit here and take the time and make it perfect, because I would know which spoke, as the wheel went around, I could bring that tolerance into almost nothing. And if I really worked at it, I could probably make the tolerance to where it was 0 or very, very, very close to 0. So yeah, that's pretty cool that I can actually measure that and see it, and I'm very pleased with that outcome. That's good enough for me. So yeah, I'm gonna have to say that I'm very pleased with that outcome. That really makes me feel good that I can get it that close. And it's just a matter of taking a little bit of time with the tools and getting it set up. Really, one of the most important parts is having a proper tool. It really makes a difference having a truing stand where you're not using zip ties or something else, and it's able to hold the wheel completely still and firm and in the right place, so you get a consistent roundness and trueness measure using the gauges that are on the tool. Like I said, I bought the dial indicator just as a backup to see how close I could get it. But I think in the future, if I have to build a wheel, I'll just start with the dial indicator. It's a great part of the tool. I'll definitely be using this some more. I need to order some inner tubes, and then I can mount these wheels and tires, because I don't want to dismount the other ones quite yet and change them out. Although I could do that, I'm choosing not to at this point, because there'll be some more information coming out as to why I'm not going to change those wheels right now, but that'll be for another time. So I think that's going to wrap it up for this video of my truing stand and doing these new wheels, lacing up these new wheels, powder coated them, and I did the powder coating. And that's probably a part of my business that eventually I will take some videos of. Anyway, all of that stuff is to come at a later date. So thanks for watching. Until next time, cheers.